I want to know that you'll tell me I love to stay. Take me to the river, drop me in the water. Push me in the river, dip me in the water. Washing me down, washing me. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, Community Solutions Podcast. You've got your hand up in the air.
I'm waiting for you to call on me.
You're arresting my delivery here. What's going on?
Well, now I know who sings that.
Are you serious?
Yes.
You're going to get another one.
Yes, I used to have it on the wall, and my dad had it on the wall in the basement. It's Billy Bass. Remember Billy Bass? The fish that dropped me in the river or something like that? That's who sings that.
Oh, no.
Billy Bass.
No, didn't Billy Bass sing the fillet of fish song?
No, he did not. He sang "Drop Me in the Ocean" or whatever you said. Whatever you said, Billy Bass. That's right.
Oh my word, that's Talking Heads. Take me to the river.
No, it's Billy Bass.
Oh my goodness.
The bass turned and looked at you and everything and sang the song.
Yeah,
Remember that thing?
Yeah, he sang the fillet of fish song.
My dog used to bark at it. He didn't sing a fillet. That was a Wendy's commercial.
That was a fillet.
Good. I'll tell you what. Fine. Okay, you want to give me one wrong? Fine, I'll give you one. Look, I gotta tell you something, Jay. Just straight out.
Yeah.
I saw a good movie. You and I haven't seen each other for a while.
Yeah.
For those of you off in Podcastville here, who get these every week, we don't record them necessarily. I had a trip for my anniversary and I was gone. I haven't been feeling well lately, so
he lives a charmed life.
I definitely do.
We work around that.
I saw a good movie though a few days ago.
Yes.
Brand new movie. It was called The Hangover.
Brand new.
Yes, brand new.
Huh.
These 4 guys go to Vegas and they lose the guy who's the groom. Brand new movie. Just seen it. And I'm really hoping they make a sequel because it was very funny. When it comes out on beta or VHS, I'm definitely going to get it. Now, that brings me, I've been thinking about this all day.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know why. But I've been thinking there's another good movie out, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I'd like to see that too. Little behind the times here, just a little behind the times. What is, Jay, this is totally non-political. I have no idea why I'm thinking. I just thought of it today.
Yes.
What is I'm going to pretend I'm in the White House press corps, and I'm going to ask you a 3-part question.
Okay.
Because nobody asks a simple question in the White House press corps.
That's true.
They all have to be Sam Donaldson and get on TV for as long as possible.
Right.
What is your favorite movie sequel? Your least favorite? And your favorite movie that does not have a sequel?
Wow.
Now, I'll answer first if you need a minute to get the Jeopardy music going.
Okay.
You can think about that. Because my favorite sequel and my least favorite sequel probably are in the same series.
Mine are as well.
I'm going to guess. Can I take a guess?
Yeah.
The Rocky series.
No.
Really?
But now that you say that makes me rethink my answer.
Well, it's kind of a tie for my least between 3. I've never seen a worse sequel than Revenge of the Nerds 2. And I loved the first one.
Yeah.
And the second one is god-awful.
Okay.
Major League, they should have stopped at 1.
Yeah.
Much as I like Tom Berenger, I like the guy from LA Law, Dorn, and I like the manager. But, boy, they should have stopped at 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rocky, I loved... The story of the first one was the best, but the production and everything else was so much better on 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Rocky 5, I don't know what happened on that. Now, I do want to see those Creed movies. I have not seen them. Have you seen those?
They're really good.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. Let me tell you, that Rocky 5 was not great. But I will watch Rocky 5 on marathon for an entire weekend before I watch The Phantom Menace again.
Oh, yeah. I'd rather watch Glitter. That was bad.
That was terrible.
Just think, we waited 15 years or whatever for that movie. I mean, I remember the Star Wars movie, 4 through 6. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, and you waited forever, and Phantom Menace.
Yeah. That
one
is
was bad.
probably the worst sequel of all time.
And I didn't like any of the 1 through 3. I really didn't. Attack of the Clowns. I didn't like
Three
that.
was okay,
Yeah.
but the characters were so wooden. That was part of it. But you can pick just about any sequel out of the Rocky franchise, and I think Rocky 2 is probably the best sequel. I love the first movie; it's probably my favorite movie. But a movie without a sequel—that's one that's stumping me a little bit.
Well, I can come up with one that really sticks out. It's Forrest Gump. Rumor has it that they've tried for years to get Tom Hanks to do a sequel. He won't do it.
Huh.
Igor Hanks can call his own shots, do whatever he wants.
Right.
He's at that level, and he has been for a long time. But that is one, I don't even know what you do. Pick it up in the 2000s where Forrest Gump
Maybe
went?
they need to go get Forrest Whitaker and do a spin-off.
Oh, shit. So that is one that
Yeah.
came to my mind that did not have a sequel that I'm... And there's other sequel. I mean, European Vacation would be a terrible one because the original one was so good. But I liked Christmas, and I kind of liked the Vegas one. So if you hated the European one like everybody else does,
Yeah.
then it's not so bad. So I don't know. So all right, well, if you come up with one, that doesn't have a sequel.
Oh, yeah.
No.
They make sequels for almost everything.
Today they do. There was a time they didn't.
Right.
Now any good movie has a 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
12.
That, I remember as a kid loving Tron. That was kind of in my wheelhouse growing up, and now they have a sequel for that too. Well, Disney exploits everything till it just dies. That's the problem.
So long after.
Oh.
Yeah, well, and you'd think with everything Disney owns, what's the point if they don't make a movie?
Yeah, I don't know. Just about anything Cameron Crowe makes, I like. He's made a ton of really good movies. So, I'll pick one off of that
Okay,
list.
all right. So,
Yeah.
enough non-political talk.
Okay.
Jay,
Yes.
living in Plymouth, I am receiving at my expense
Yes.
the Plymouth Financial Extra. I don't know, this is the May and June edition, which I got in July. And in this, Plymouth is
It's very shiny and colorful.
It's-
They put some money into that.
and it's the greatest city on the face of the
They
earth.
put some of your money into that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, here's a typical headline, typical government headline. Reinvestment in Plymouth facilities needed to meet growing demand. Reinvestment. Now, what does that mean to you? That means, ouch, my wallet. Is
Yes.
usually what that means.
Yeah, that's usually what that means.
Growing demand. The city center, Plymouth Creek Center, draws 300,000 visitors annually. Now, do you believe that?
It depends if they count the people doing DoorDash in and out of there every day.
Or the employees coming in and out of their
Right.
lunch break. 300,000? I'm guessing it's,
I don't know.
is this open every day, holidays?
Is that why they wanted that hospitality tax? Were they going to put a hotel there?
I don't know, but the city council is considering a range of options, translation. They're trying to figure out how to...
right tax,
Yeah, the
yes.
right tax to use.
Yes.
But this entire thing, have you ever heard of a tax rate? This is interesting here. Actually, it's not. But it's just, Plymouth, according to Plymouth, has the lowest tax rate for taxes payable in 2019 when compared to other Hennepin County suburbs with populations of 45,000 or more.
So it's them in Minneapolis?
Well, St. Louis Park,
oh, yeah, St.
Wilmington,
Louis
Maple
Park,
Grove.
yep.
I mean, there's a handful.
Yeah, there is a handful.
And according to them...
Not hard to beat St. Louis Park either.
Well, and it shouldn't be hard to beat, well, really, any of these cities, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have the lowest tax rate, and I'm looking for the source here, and I don't see it anywhere.
Ah.
Now, what's a tax rate?
Well, I suppose that is the percentage at which you get taxed.
But that's not how it's done. That's not how a property is taxed. They're not
No,
taxed
it's
by a
not.
percentage.
No, you're not.
You're taxed based on your
The
your
property
home's
value. Yeah.
So where do they get tax? I mean, you and I, look, I've been in politics for 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And how about your 50 years? Have you ever seen tax rate?
50?
No, I'm just kidding.
What?
I mean, everything here. What do you want to bet? Brooklyn Park is number one on this. What do you want to bet in their thing? They're number one, and Plymouth is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. Well, it depends if they use the same criteria. Don't they use New Hope as a comparison because New Hope's always the worst?
Yeah, but they're not 45,000.
Oh no.
I'll be glad to know that we are paying for a study to County Road 47. Now, study means outside money coming in.
Right.
So we're paying money to see how much money we have to pay. They are conservative when taking out debt.
Oh.
They're the most transparent. Online fiscal resources offer increased efficiency and transparency. They're city employees per 1,000 population.
Wow.
Who came up with that as a ratio? But I mean, this entire thing is basically a propaganda piece.
Well, that's it.
That-
When government owns the printing press, you have nobody to provide balance.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. We have no local media that will
Yeah.
challenge a damn thing that they write in here.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well,
You think the Sun Post
it's
is
almost
gonna,
like it's the New York Times.
yeah, but you think the Sun Post is going to take this apart and
No.
and yeah,
No.
I mean they're hoping nobody pays attention. So that's what I paid for myself to get.
Lining the bottom of somebody's bird cage right now.
Well, whatever you want to call it. Hey, one more thing, quick. This is my half a thing.
Okay.
The Pledge of Allegiance is back
I heard.
here. Now,
Yeah.
here's my question.
Yes.
Because people are all over social media, tweetering and chat snap and all this stuff, declaring victory.
Right.
And I'm sitting here going, you know what victory is? Victory is ousting the city council in November. That's victory. And what do you want to bet? That everybody who showed up to say the pledge where their Uncle Sam had, and I agree with them on the issue, that's not it, is going to declare victory, walk away, and never mention St. Louis Park again.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm going to get in so much trouble for
Yeah,
this.
well,
but-
you never get in more trouble than I do. So
Well,
just,
we'll see after this. You know, you look at the Republican Party of Minnesota, and they were constantly talking about this, and what a travesty it was that the pledge was not being said anymore in St. Louis Park, and they were demanding that you know, this and that, and where were you on the tax rates in St. Louis Park? Where were you on Tobacco 21 in St. Louis Park? Where were you on GARE implementing programs in St. Louis Park? Where were you on every other thing that is unconstitutional
Yeah, they've
and
ignored it
not
for the last
conservative?
50
Not
years.
only St. Louis Park, but any other of the 852 cities in Minnesota.
They were COD and DOA. I don't know, they were absent as always. You know, there's something like this to rally the troops, you know, but they have elections this November, and I'd like to see how many more times MNGOP tweets about St. Louis Park. 0. In fact, in 2017, they didn't even announce the cities that had elections and the school districts that had referendums.
Well, let's say this. There is somebody that was on. I'm gonna get in so much trouble. I'm getting friends dropping off like flies here. But there is somebody. It's easy to figure out who it is. Who is from this area, from St. Louis Park, on the MNGOP. Actually, maybe multiple now. But there, I talked to this person when Tobacco 21 was going through, and there was no motion. They don't care about it. They don't care about any of this stuff, and we've been preaching this for how many years? And we've gone into their chambers and we've talked to them, and they don't get it.
Well,
but I did receive an email the other day talking about how we're going to deliver Minnesota to Donald Trump. So,
well, that's good. Even though he can win without it, that's the priority. I know. Look, it's frustrating.
But hey, that's okay because when we do redistricting next year, the Democrats will just get to do it. So.
Well, you know, we're going to lose a congressional seat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, which is fine with me. Minneapolis and St. Paul want to be one district, that's fine. So we can let Betty and, I'm not sure where she lives, but could let Omar and her battle it out for
Yeah.
Minneapolis and St. Paul. So,
That would be nice.
but I mean, there's no question that we're gonna lose one. I mean, and you have to carve it out there because you have to have 3 outstate.
Yeah.
That's where the population's been steady.
Yes.
Is 1, 7, and 8. It's gonna have to come from one of the 5 in the metro, or in the metro,
Yeah.
I guess, out to St. Cloud, I guess, is where 6 goes now.
Right.
Yeah, it would, but that's where it's gonna have to come from. I mean, I don't know where.
Well, I would look for them to put more blue into 6, you know?
No, I would think that they will concede 6.
They
and
may.
they will put the
Make
blue.
2 stronger.
They will put the blue in 2,
3.
3, and everywhere else. That's what they'll do. They'll let us have 1, and then, because that makes those races now non-competitive.
Right.
And that's the whole goal of redistricting, is to get as least competitive seats as
Right, but
possible.
it's not just that.
The
It's
hell with
also
representing
it's
you.
the state senate districts as well, so.
Yeah, it is. 60, I mean, and you know Minnesota has more legislators than California?
Yes, I do know
I mean,
that.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Not that they're any good out there, but I mean, we need 201 of them?
yeah.
Anyway, enough
Yes.
talk here.
No, we have a guest this week.
We do, and you've talked enough here, so.
Yes, I need to be done for the day. I'm just gonna sit back and close my eyes and let you guys go at it.
At least you know your role.
Right. And it's to take a nap. Well, we want to welcome from the City Council of Elk River, Garrett Christensen. How are you, Garrett?
I'm doing just fine.
Welcome to the show.
I will say,
Yeah.
we do say the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of our meetings.
Mm-hmm.
We'll continue to say it, and we'll always say it. That's how we start all of our meetings.
Motion
That's
passed.
good. Yeah. That's good. For those of our listeners who are not familiar with you, this is kind of a suspense story. We like scary stories here. You won by 2 votes. And initially you thought you won by 1 till the recount, right?
No,
Or-
actually, it came in as 2. Recount took place, and it.
Oh, it was still 2. Okay. That's a slim margin. How were you feeling election night?
Well, on election night, actually, the ward is split up into 2 precincts. So the first precinct was reported, the one that I live in, and had a pretty decent sized margin there. So kind of took a deep breath, and then the second precinct came in, and there it was.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, they just come in bang.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, not like this slow little tally. You know, they just come in a precinct at a time like that.
Right.
It's amazing in a recount, though, they didn't find any votes in a shoebox somewhere, or in, somebody's trunk or something. They didn't find any votes over there. Now, Garrett, let me ask you this. For those of us not very familiar with Elk River, you were on the city council elected last year. How many members of the council are there? What ward are you? And where is that in Elk River, just so people know who are listening?
Okay, so Elk River's got 4 wards, and then an at-large mayor, so 5 total people. I represent the entire city, but I represent Ward 1. Ward 1 is, for those of you not familiar with Elk River, up Highway 10 towards the west side of town, the property line basically from Elk River to Big Lake Township. Follow Main Street along the river. I've got the south side of Main Street, and then kind of go back up Highway 10. That's just a little sliver, but then back up Highway 10 to Upland/Meadowvale, runs into County Road 1 or Elk Lake Road, and have the west side of the county road.
All right.
Very good. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background so our listeners get to know you a little bit. Give us your origin story, how you came to be interested in running for office. I mean, you don't have to go all the way back to day one, but just so we get a good sense of who you are.
Okay. My wife and I, we moved out to Elk River in 2012. My wife is a Elk River native. That's what brought us out there. We fast forward 7 years later, we've got 5 kids, ranging from age 12 to our youngest, who is about 1.5. So we've got our hands.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, good. No peace in your house. I think having a dog and a cat's a lot of work.
Yeah. So politics, I guess, since I can remember, my father has always been into politics. Nobody in the family's ever ran for any kind of public office, but kind of grew up around watching the elections, following along campaigns, and I was told since I can remember that it's important to know what's going on, to stay in the know. And I guess, I call it old school, call it what most people believe in, but I believe that everybody has a role in the community. And in order to have a successful community, you need people that are putting back into it.
Right.
So I looked at, my skill sets. I saw an opportunity to give back through the community by running for this seat. And boy, 7 months into it, I loved every minute of it.
That's great.
I got to ask you a question here, and maybe it's better apt for your wife. Elk River, when I was a kid, was like a farmland, it's amazing the growth in that, not just Elk River, but Otsego and all the towns, Rogers, which is a little south of there, but just that area alone has seen so much change in the last 25, 30 years. And I'm sure it's brought great things and challenging things as well, but is there another, maybe like a Lakeville area maybe is like comparable, but where else is it comparable with how much different things are now than they were before?
Well, I guess to compare, I would say, maybe this is a little bit more of a drastic comparison, but me being, I grew up in Andover.
Oh, yeah.
When I moved to Andover in the mid-90s, it was salvage yards, and the landfill. Drive through, I don't know if you guys drive through Andover, you go drive through Andover now, you wouldn't even think it was the same town. But the interesting thing about Elk River is you have the old part of Elk River and the new part. One thing that I noticed, at least in Ward 1, door knocking, is the amount of residents that were born and raised there, or are second, third, fourth generation, some even in the same house. So you have a lot of people that were there before the change, and so you kind of get that natural, tug of war, so to speak. It keeps things kind of incremental. You get a lot of people that don't want to see Elk River change. You have a lot of people that are moving into the city that are expecting, new facilities. They want, more restaurants to eat at, and so you have that kind of back and forth. At least the 7 years that we've lived there, of do we grow, do we stay the same? So.
No, that's good, because I worry that cities do lose their identity. Growth has a lot of positives to it, but there's always a price to be paid. I think of I was just up in Grand Rapids where our lake place, our family lake place is, and right before the 4th, and that's a city where the north part of town is the old part, the south part of town is where like the commercial build-up hotels and restaurants and that kind of thing has been.
Yeah.
But I swear that the city has still not lost its charm, if you will.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that.
I would agree that there's a balance that happens, and change is the only certainty in life, I think, other than death and taxes. Death, taxes, and change. That's about it.
That's about it.
So that's about the only certainties.
Great. Well, so what was it that really got your juices flowing to, I want to run for office. I see this stuff happen in my community. I think I can provide something.
So one thing that I knew as the years have flown by living Elk River is when we moved to Elk River, we were looking in towns like St. Michael, Albertville, even around Andover, and one thing that kind of caught my attention was just it was so much more expensive to live in Elk River, and not being from there, not knowing what the town had to offer. I was bound determined to find out why. And so kind of, wanting to take a proactive approach in getting to the bottom of that and then, help shaping that future. When I look at the neighborhood we live in, okay, it's the older part of town. We were the young family. We had 2 kids at the time, and the rest of the families that lived there, their kids were in junior high school. But now since then, this neighborhood has almost completely turned over. So you have that influx of younger families trying, moving further away from the city, further out in the suburbs. Elk River is not so far anymore from the Twin Cities. It's really kind of all shrinking. So just would really kind of, this is my opportunity, not just for my own family, my own small army of children, but just, really paying attention to my surroundings and seeing how young families are moving out there to start a family where a lot of them, it's their first time buying a home. It's their first experience with taxes, property taxes, and getting involved. And I knew that this is my time to kind of get out in front of that, and then maybe be somebody that they could look at as I want to know what's going on. I want to show up to the meetings. I want to see what's going on that I might not otherwise read about in the paper or read on social media.
Well, the baton passed to another generation. I mean, all 3 of us are probably pretty close in age, and it's our generation are now becoming the decision makers. I never thought I'd get to that day. Part of me never thought I'd get there. That my generation would take. It kind of scared me 25 years ago, but it doesn't anymore.
Well, that's good.
It doesn't scare me at all now. So maybe I should be scared of some, but I'm not. It's just, it's our generation. How well you put it. It's a lot of older folks are retiring, or they're empty nesters now. They're not the people who are going to be there in 20 years and have their kids go to the schools and all that. And that generation needs representation in that local government. So we went through this in Crystal, Jay, a great generational gap where the average age in the council went down about 20 years. So seeing it elsewhere as well. Now, I got to ask you, Garrett, a question just to start off here. Because we chatted about and I'm going to give you the floor here to give us all the history and all that, you had a sales tax on the ballot. Not only were you on the ballot, but there was also a ballot question in the city of Elk River. We kind of mentioned it on the program, but didn't know enough about it to get into it. What was going on with a local sales tax in Elk River? Why was it proposed? What happened? What was it for? Can you just give us a whole kit and caboodle on and tell the listeners how that came about?
Well, the start of the whole idea would be argued. It's kind of a controversial as to how this all started, but what a lot of people will say is the ice arena, the aging arena.
Now the city owns that?
The city owned, ice arena. The original arena, we call the barn, was donated to the city in the 70s for $1. Right, City took it on.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
Well, and that may have been, the thought process back then. But now let's fast forward, 40 some years later, and now the building roof is leaking, building's falling apart.
That's a problem in hockey.
Yeah.
The leaky roof.
Right.
So the things start falling apart. Well, now it's okay. What do we do now? We own this building that the public has, used for decades, and now we're gonna have to do something about it. Oh my gosh, what do we do? So that's how many people, I guess, will tell that story, is how it started. That's where the idea came from. But really, the council at that time, so we're talking last year, 2018, took that opportunity as a way to add a few other projects into that.
Of course.
So the two, and fortunately or unfortunately for me, I wasn't a part of all that, but fortunately for me, that was all during campaign season.
Right.
And so every door of everyone that would answer, see it show up in a campaign shirt, some people go running. But the people that did want to talk, that was the number one subject. So I get to hear a range of emotions. So, the whole spectrum. I love the idea, I want this in Elk River, or, I'm okay with that, to not having an opinion, to not wanting it, to no matter what you tell me, or what I hear, what I read about, this is not something I'm going to support, right? And so again, kind of as I dug my heels into this subject very early on in 2018, before I announced my intent to run, is the question came up as to the city, what are we going to do if this local option sales tax doesn't pass? Because the city council cannot impose a sales tax without first going to the voters. And with that, how that process looks is you have to have an amount, so in this case $35 million, and then that has to be broken down into what you're going to use that money for. So the council has to earmark each of the projects that they want to include, and then it goes on a general election ballot. If that passes, it then goes through the House of Representatives and the State Senate for their inclusion in their budget bills for it to be considered in the final bill, which was signed off by the governor. But now let's take you and kind of jump around a little bit, but rewind a little bit. So what do we do if this doesn't pass Elk River,
Right.
voters? What's plan B? And this is this is where things, even for myself, got pretty emotional. Is if we're not going to pass, if the local option sales tax doesn't pass, we still have an arena that's falling apart, and we also have a lake that, or a reservoir, because technically it's not a lake, it's the Elk River flowing into the Mississippi that's been dammed right in Elk River, is filling with sediment and it's becoming unusable in parts. So we have to drain the lake and dredge it. So those questions, so even if this doesn't pass, we still have these things that still need attention. What do we do? So the plan B that the council at the time had decided was $17 million property tax hike. Okay, so, and that's where the emotions for myself and a lot of people that I talked to in campaign trails. So we're going to do something. How do you want it?
Right.
Do you want it in sales tax, or do you want it in property tax? So a lot of people who may not follow things as closely, they hear property tax and they go running.
Right.
That is absolutely. My property taxes are high the way it is. I cannot imagine another. That kind of scare a lot of people. And so that was all put out there before November. November elections came around and it passed. Almost, well, 2/3 almost.
You gotta love that. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Now, you can vote for this, but if you don't vote to pass it, well, we'll just do it anyway. It's a different way.
I compare it like, I'm gonna rob your house.
Yeah.
You want me to take your TV, or do you want me to take your couch? Which one? No,
I'm gonna come in and take your stuff. You want me to use the front door or the back door? That's more akin to that.
Well, I mean, and let me ask this. I mean, of those folks who were there, how many are now not there?
It's on the council. Only one.
Ah, you.
That's me.
Oh, okay. So you're still outnumbered by the people.
Yes, and it was Ward 1, Ward 4 in the mayor's seat was up all at the same time. Ward 1 was me and one other person. Mayor was uncontested. Ward 4 was uncontested.
Wow.
And then I take that as some constructive feedback as to I know what my work's cut out for me.
Yeah.
I need to generate excitement, to make government exciting.
Yeah.
These meetings, I'll be honest with you, some of these meetings can get rather sleepy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of the joke so far this year is our city council meetings, actually our meeting on Monday, yesterday, was one of the shortest we've had since I've been on, since the meetings I've been to. You know, we've been seeing our meetings last 3-4+ hours. You know, where people are showing up. You know, we've actually had to open up our overflow seating.
Wow.
At some of our meetings. Not even just because there's a subject on there that, you know, a lot of people are passionate about, but which is also good to see that people are showing up for that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
just people coming out to just to see what's going on, just to kind of see what it's all about. And I take every opportunity I can, every phone call that I receive or email or call that I make. That's how I end every conversation. I love to see a meeting. I love to.
Yeah. And tell them to show up at the work sessions. Too.
Yes.
Yes,
That's even more critical.
absolutely.
Work sessions. Now, do you have your work sessions the same nights as the meetings?
Correct.
So
So
they can.
we have our work sessions after the meeting, and I think that is crucial. I've talked to some of my friends in other councils where they hold their work session before the meeting,
Yes.
and actually just met with
It's
them.
actually very, very normal.
Yeah, and I find that, that's not an effective way to hold a work session. One, you've got, especially if you've got a full agenda, you're rushing the work session. We're out of time. We're gonna have to push this off. You're gonna take it off the agenda, move it on to a future agenda. So you're not actually finishing what you started.
Right.
Where what we do in Elk River, we go through the meeting, whether it's an hour or whether it's 3 hours. And then the work session, we have work sessions till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night sometimes, but they're very constructive. I so much, and so much gets done, so much gets accomplished. You know, that's our opportunity to really provide a lot of direction to our, you know, departments to what we're looking to get done, looking to accomplish.
All right, now just to follow up on the sales tax question, so as it stands, where are you guys as it stands? You mentioned it was signed by the governor very recently, so are you moving ahead with this? And this we want to mention too, this tax does have a sunset provision in it. It is earmarked, like you said. Is it moving forward as we speak right now?
It is moving forward. The sales tax will start the first day of the fourth quarter. And that's when they'll impose the half-cent sales tax to raise $35 million. And one thing with that, and I did ultimately vote for that. I did throw my support behind that for a couple of reasons. One, you know, the sales tax has the sunset provision, where property tax, you know, you have to have a council vote to get rid of that. Where the sales tax, no matter who is in the council, that's gonna end, okay? And secondly, with Elk River kind of being a, you know, last stop before you head up to the cabin, you get a lot of people that don't live here, that stop in, get their gas, get their groceries. So really, when you look at a community perspective, you're sharing that cost, and I hate saying share, but you're putting that cost off on other communities that are driving through. And that's kind
Keep that in mind the next time we drive through Oak River.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I do like Lake Orono, so I'm okay with, you know, supporting that to a point.
Right.
But yeah.
So just to kind of give you, so the $35 million, you know, to kind of break that down, the bulk of that is the multi-purpose facility. That's tearing down the original, the barn, keeping the addition and converting that into a field house. It'll, you know, with the 2 sheets of ice, the senior center, meeting space, retail space, where we'll have tenants come in and rent space for their business and whatnot. And then it's also, you know, different parks, park improvements, the dredging of Lake Orono, in which our local representatives went to the state and secured funding for that as well, to kind of take some of that burden off our residents, but also trail improvements and connections. So there's a lot of different things that it's going to benefit, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But like I said, it's something that, you know, if I would have been on the council at the start of this, I think we could have gone down a different path. I just didn't feel right. I wouldn't have felt right if I was on that council, knowing that I'm giving, residents two options.
Right.
If you want to get taxed this way or get taxed that way. I don't think that was the right way to go about doing it.
No. Wow. Was there anything else that since you've started it has been like? I'm surprised that works that way. I did not anticipate that.
There's a lot of things. Our city staff, for example, there's so much that goes on in the four walls of City Hall that I had no idea. And the amount of time they put in. But I would commend our city staff. Our city staff is unique. Actually, our city administrator, he's, whether it's 6 o'clock in the morning or 10:30 on a Saturday evening, if I got a question, I send it to him. I get a response.
Wow.
He's 24/7. Whether he travels, with his wife overseas sometimes. No matter where he's at, he's there. If he doesn't have an answer, he'll tell you he doesn't have an answer, and he gets back to you right away. And that's kind of the way all of our staff is. Very quick, very, they really kind of convey the message, at least in my point of view, being the new person, is that we as the city staff work for the council. And that was kind of, I guess, hearing different cities and kind of doing my own research and whatnot, I guess I kind of assumed that there would be a friction, I guess, between city staff and city council, but we don't have that in Elk River. I think we're very fortunate to have the people that we have at City Hall. So it's been a pleasure to have those resources available.
Good people are hard to find.
Yeah, there are a lot of cities where the staff tries to lead, through their pet projects, what they want to happen in the city.
Well, you attend enough American Planning Association meetings, and that can happen.
Right, or League of Minnesota Cities, or...
all of our favorite groups.
Yes.
Garrett, let me ask you this. You've got, we all know what August and July are at city meetings. That means my favorite subject.
Yes.
The budgets that are coming. And I pre-apologize for all the BS you're gonna have to listen to and go through. I mean, I have sat through them, not as a council person, but as a resident, and, listen to every department talk about how, they don't waste a paper clip and they don't waste, all that kind of stuff. And it might be true for all I know. But I mean, you haven't been through this yet, and you're going to go through it. And for people who haven't listened to us much before, cities have to set a preliminary budget by state law, a preliminary levy, I should say.
Yes.
And then they have to do that in September, and then in December they have to set a permanent one, and it can't go above the September one. They can come down, they can't go above. So there's and they have to have a hearing and all that in December. There's a long process for that. I know you guys are just starting that, but what can you share about what you've just learned about Elk River's budget, about what they could expect perhaps, what you guys have talked about already, just anything on the budget, since we know you're going to have work session after work session after work session for the next couple of months on that.
Yeah, so we actually, our first budget meeting's next Monday. Being new to public office, I'm looking forward to that process and what it looks like. I think from my experience so far this year, we have a more conservative, I guess, mindset when it comes to spending tax dollars. Our mayor, the rest of our council, it's something where, we just sat in our EDA meeting before our council meeting on Monday, and going over a preliminary budget where we go, line by line. Okay, well, this doesn't really describe exactly what we're using this money for and why. Why do we have that in place for this. So, really, I mean, this is our Economic Development Authority that we're going through line by line and challenging some of those things, challenging the amount that's there, and do we need that? And looking for ways to save in some areas. So, looking at, I kind of brought along, let's see if I can find it here. Our, home values, right? So in April, we went through our overall market value going up 6.5% this year. That's an opportunity too to make reductions in the budget, and with the amount of growth that we've seen, to make some more reductions in the budget. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. I mentioned at the beginning here, and when we first moved here in 2012, property taxes were higher than, I guess, what I would call comparable cities. It was more expensive to live in Elk River, so that is something that, with not going through this process before, I'm going to be that guy that's asking all the questions just to make sure I understand what's going on here, and challenging some of those things, and I'm confident that our other council members are going to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's, I guess, what I'm expecting. There's a lot that I still need to sit down and talk to our finance director about, and just to kind of see how it goes. Everything that I've been doing so far has been a first. So I can't wait to get this done, so I can just knock another first off the list, so I take them on.
You'll be asking fiscal questions forever.
Yes.
It comes to that stuff, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the first time we looked at a budget, it was written in Swahili.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to understand. And it's hard to understand for taxpayers, and it's hard to understand for council people. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just, we don't make anything simple.
Right.
It's not as simple as your tax dollars go here and there's where it goes. It just is not that simple.
Yeah. Your comprehensive annual financial report for last year should have just come out as well, so enjoy that.
Yeah. That's the more important document.
It is, yeah.
And one of these days, they're going to update the auditor's office, which I don't think has been updated for about 15 years, where it's supposed to go.
Right.
But I don't think they've updated that for a while. So, can't really, hard to find. Sometimes.
Yes.
No.
Oh, goodness. You told me previously that you're starting an initiative. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah,
Garrett?
so we're looking for ways, and we've spent some considerable amount of time in our work sessions, to take down the fourth wall, mm-hmm. so to speak, at our city hall.
So kind of like watching Moonlighting, how they would talk to the audience.
Oh.
Is that the fourth wall?
I guess so, as far as acting would go. Okay. I don't know.
I just saw Moonlighting last week, okay?
Have you seen anything that was made before, like, 1987? Or after, I mean?
Sure. Sure, WrestleMania 5. Yeah, I've seen plenty. Kidding.
Okay, so the fourth wall is coming down.
So a couple of the things that we've talked about. So one being starting an Elk River resident advisory. Okay. So this is an opportunity. Anybody that lives in the city, you have to be a resident to be a part of this, can be a part of this advisory. And that's just another way to have direct input on what goes on what we are deciding on at meetings, policy decisions, things like that.
Now, an advisory, is that like a commission? Is that kind of the vision, or is it, would they take up an issue, or haven't you guys flushed that out yet?
No, we're still working through a lot of those. So it wouldn't act as a commission. You're not elected onto this advisory. It's open for as many people as wants to get involved in what's going on in local government. The prerequisite though is that you live in Elk River. So it's more or less, it's kind of trying to establish that the pulse of what's going on, so to speak, to give that information. What are we not seeing, or what are we not hearing? A lot of things that come forth are from a phone call, right, or 5 people show up at a meeting to bring up an issue, where this is an opportunity to get out there, or have residents out there that are providing that live feedback as to what should we be doing different? What would you like to see different? What would you like to not see at all? And just kind of give more of that two-way communication approach versus just, all right, we have an open forum, anybody want to speak, now is your chance. No, this is beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not waiting for a
good.
resident to show up.
Yeah.
It's,
Right.
But then, another thing too, and not even just, recreating the wheel, but one thing that I've been trying to bring to our meetings or work sessions are, what are neighboring cities doing? And I guess I'll take Big Lake, for example. They have their connect with the council. Bringing that information to our meetings, talking about it. What would something like that look like in Elk River? And that's, getting a quorum together at a already planned function. So we're not talking night to night. We're talking, we have our concert in the park series every Thursday. We've got our farmers market. We actually just had our Elk River Fest, new yearly get together for the city, but just showing up at some of these pre-planned events to kind of give the opportunity to just in an informal setting, in a setting where people are comfortable and can convey something that maybe they don't want to go to a podium, speak in a microphone that's recorded. You know what I mean? Maybe they just bring some ideas forth in an informal setting. So just another way to kind of.
Yeah.
So has that been something that hasn't gone on very much? That you just, because I've seen that in other cities too, where you go to the local festival and none of the council people are ever there.
Right.
And granted, everybody's there to have fun too and not get interrogated by. But interrogated is a bad word.
I know that like the current Crystal Council has changed that, and they allow people to let off steam by throwing softballs at a dunk tank.
Yeah.
It makes everybody feel better.
Yeah, sure. You make me feel better, and I like them. But the thing being is that accessibility, and I think this is a good point, is more than just a phone call or an email. There's something about talking to somebody face to face, Garrett, like you said, in a comfortable setting, informal, nobody's recording it, nobody's playing gotcha, nobody's doing that. And there's two places to do it, a place like that at somebody's door. Because that's where the people will be the most honest with you too. They'll be the most honest with you in an informal setting or at their own home when you're knocking on their door. They'll be the most honest. They don't like something, they'll have no problem telling you, but out in the public, people kind of step back a little bit, and I'd rather get the honesty than that. But the more comfortable people are talking, the more involved they are, the more everybody realizes how much they really do have a stake in where they live, and you just hope that expands and never stops, and that every resident can feel like that.
But one thing to add to that, and I know you guys, we all saw it here in St. Louis Park, but to put a face and an emotion to an agenda item or to a real issue going on in the city, I can't even compare it to, when I look out from our council chambers and we're talking about an issue, you see nobody there. Sometimes that discussion doesn't really go down a path that maybe we didn't think about. But when I look at some of the issues that have been kind of put forth to the council this year, very controversial ones, the res care facility, the lake improvement district, or even the flag issue that we had a couple months ago. But when you have people come up and talk and you hear things, we had a resident actually bring up a council meeting from 15 plus years ago of a decision that was made back then, or from the planning commission that we otherwise didn't have that information.
Yeah.
But it caused us to kind of go back and revisit some stuff that that was brought forth by a resident. But really putting that emotion, that face to some of these issues is very impactful.
Now, you threw out a couple things there that I think we got to follow up on here. Lake issue. Can you explain that? This what did you call it? I already forgot.
The Lake Improvement District.
Lake Improvement District. Okay, what is that, and what caused that to be created? Has it been created, or is it still in process?
We actually just appointed the first representatives of the Lake Improvement District, which then from there, they will elect their own, come up with their own budget, their own plans, things like that, that they would get approved through the city. So really, just to kind of sum it up, what is the Lake Improvement District in simple terms? It is a petition brought forth to our city government, or typically the county. It's not often that an entire lake is within the city limits of one city.
Right.
In this case, it is, but it's an opportunity. It's a petition from residents that are basically saying, look, this is our lake, this is our backyard, we want to take care of it, not the government. Okay, and that's what the Lake Improvement District is. They come up with their own budgets, funding of that budget through assessments or whatever they choose to do. But the problem with Lake Orono is it's a reservoir. It's not a lake. It's the Elk River that has been dammed before it drains into the Mississippi, and that's what you get. Many years ago, they actually used that dam for power. Not no longer, but as a result, we get Lake Orono that has to be dredged every 20 or so years, and that's kind of the why that came about this year. Is we're going through that dredging. Fortunately, we're able to spread that out, not just where the property owners are taking the brunt of it, but our local representatives got some funding from the state. The city is matching because the city owns quite a bit of property along the lake, and then the residents themselves. But really, they want to take care of their backyard. Why not? The government's not going to be proactive.
Right.
We're going to react to things like that. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
And a good swimming lake.
Yeah.
I must say, so when it's dredged, I'm going to assume I can't swim in it.
Well, unfortunately, so they'll be doing it over the winter. So they're going to do the drawdown. By September 15th, the drawdown has to be complete. Then we wait for the ground to freeze over, and then they bring their equipment out, and they're going to dig approximately 130,000 cubic yards of sediment. So they wait until everything's frozen so they can drive their heavy equipment out there and not sink.
Huh.
Well, that's good. We want them to do that.
Yeah. Oh. Is there anything that we haven't brought up that you want to cover?
No, it's been a very good experience. I'm loving it. If there's one thing that I could, if I don't run when my term's up and I end my term and I walk away and do something different, if there's one thing that I hope to change is to get more young people interested in government. People think local government, right? They think irrelevant. It doesn't really affect me at all until it affects you.
Right.
And then when it affects you, then it's already too late. You're already on the defense. Just kind of inviting people to get involved in the process and processes for not just taxes, but what's getting decided in your towns. Something that might seem small, right? The Pledge of Allegiance in St. Clair. Think about it. That's a prime example of people getting involved and changing the course of something that nobody wanted to see change in the first place. And that's what I hope to when I leave this office. That's what I'm hoping to get is to educate young people, to get them involved, get them showing up at meetings, and really, you have the authority. I just work for you. I do what you want, and just kind of convey that across the board. I think it's important.
Yeah, well, I think it is as well. And we preach every week. You have to get on a commission. You have to do that. You volunteer. It's one night a month usually. And you're able to learn about what's going on at the city in a certain realm of influence, and then give recommendations. There's no better way to get involved as a young person.
Well, and I'd add to that, if you can't get on a commission, you get involved with your Legion, your VFW, your Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, your Lions Club. Nobody's going to turn away a volunteer.
Right.
I mean, there's just an old adage, it's one thing you're always short of, it's people. You know, it'll just never happen. There's never, quite frankly, there's no excuse. If Garrett with 5 kids can serve on the city council, there's no excuse for anybody to not pay attention and not do anything.
And we also need more people like you that, I mean, this, what you guys do here with the community solutions, I mean, I myself have learned a lot. I listen to the podcast, I've listened to them before I even was elected, but really it kind of, when I reflect on the few months I've been on right now, but it really kind of gets me thinking, it gets me looking at what other cities are doing, not just recreating the wheel, but taking best practices from elsewhere. But I think maybe you guys should start having 2 shows a week, and get that out.
Yeah.
Well, we'll never say never.
Right.
Yeah.
No, really, I mean, it's if we had more people doing things like this, just to educate people, and excite people to run for office.
I'm going to tell you this right now. One thing you'll find out, it's a never-ending education. And like we brought up this Plymouth thing. I'm gonna find out what that is, Jay. That tax. I don't know. 17 years in politics, and I consider myself an expert, and I don't know what that is, but I'm going to find out.
Well, good.
See, I like learning new things. Some people don't, but I do.
You have to be willing to, because government is always trying to create new ways.
Well, but you have to have an
Yeah.
open mind. I mean, so many people, and it's if you're not willing to, there's nothing wrong with saying I don't know as an answer.
Yeah.
I don't think. Like, you know what? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Even as a candidate, it's okay. I'll get back to you and get back to them.
Yes.
But if you don't know, don't say something dumb. You don't know, you don't know.
Right.
So I mean, there's this whole thing right here. I don't know. I don't know.
So, Garrett, people want to follow you, get in touch with you. I assume that you talk about what happens in meetings via social media. Why don't you give us the lowdown, websites, social media? How do people find you?
So I do most of my updating on Facebook. Facebook, just Garrett Christensen, Elk River City Council. If you search my name, the page will come up. But I'll post the agenda as soon as I get it. I always post information. Hey, make sure you read through this. If you have any questions, you need to get a hold of one of us. Let's talk about it before the meeting. But then also just the happenings. So what's going on with our active Elk River campaign? What's going on with the Lake Orno improvements? Just kind of just a general happenings of what's going on. But that's kind of where I do most of that. Obviously, the city webpage will have my information on there, but that's probably the best way. But one thing I take pride in, and I've committed to, is the immediate responses. I've figured out a way to get a city email on my phone.
Yeah.
I have access to it all the time, so I can a lot of respond to requests.
I'm gonna test that.
But that's where you'll see all the information, and when I say posting the agenda and stuff, I've been working with our new communications person that we actually got from Texas to work on some of those things like getting our meetings to stream live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Having the city start, which you look at our city page, we're kind of in a transformation right now to where they're actually posting stuff that people want to know about, but starting to post, hey, we have a meeting, a city council meeting at this time on this date, and just kind of from a city side be more inviting. But then, having the live stream available, because not everybody can make it.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's awake at 12 a.m. or whenever the replay is on local access television. But just another avenue for people to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the meeting was saying, well, let's tell people, let's give all the information out there. And sometimes you have to put it on multiple sites and really push the information out there before somebody will pick up on it.
Here's a question too. Does Elk River have like a newsletter, like subscriber kind of thing that people can do? I know some cities have a fact, I'm still a member of Champlin's, where they subscribe to, I want to say, like a monthly, Crystal does it with like a council summary and a future thing, like they have, here's what we did last month, here's what we, does Elk River have anything like that?
No, and I know what you're talking about.
I can't verbally describe it.
No, that council summary, I actually reached out to our communications person on Monday. I sat down with breakfast with some friends of mine and other local governments and brought that to our attention about that. So first thing I did is sent that off city manager to our communications person and said, why don't we do something like that? I mean, that'd be kind of nice. So no, we don't have anything like that. I guess Elk River is still old school. A lot of our residents still get their news via the Star News, the print paper that kind of shows up every other Saturday sometimes. They don't quite make it through to every newspaper box every Saturday.
Yeah.
A lot of people, that's where they get a lot of their news. So we're transitioning. We're trying to get into that more technological age where we're recapping some of this.
They're going from pensions to 401ks over there. No, it is a transition because I'll tell you, my father to this day reads his Sunday page 72 and he reads his Sunday paper, in his shorts at the breakfast table, and he's done it for the last 50 years, and he's not going to grab his phone and look at it. But you're right. It is, that paper is important because every demographic is different. Not everybody gets their news off Facebook. There's, like you said, Garrett, there's 50 different places to get it. I'll tell you, the first time I went to a caucus, you know how I found out about it?
Oh.
Thriftway grocery store, somebody had put it on the little bulletin board or whatever, that it was at Cooper, my old high school, Cooper High School. That's how I found out about it.
Oh, wow.
I was getting groceries.
Huh.
So, I mean, you never know who sees something if it's put out there. So, just,
Well,
people see things everywhere, just remember that.
yes.
So,
Yeah, you can't communicate in too few avenues.
Yeah.
Or too many avenues, rather, sorry. You can't,
Wow.
you can't communicate in too many avenues, There's always somebody you're gonna miss somehow, so. Absolutely. Well, it's been great having you in here, Garrett. It's been fun to hear how things have gone for you so far.
I
And
appreciate the invite. It's
visit us again.
yeah, and the best way, I think, to show appreciation, if you live in Elk River or not, and you appreciate what Garrett's doing in that city, and you want to kind of tell him, I'd like you to run again. Donate to his upcoming campaign, and I imagine that you have
You just
some way to
announced
do
his
that.
re-election.
That's how we work around here.
Oh, okay.
If you want to gently twist his arm, start slipping him a 20 here and there, you can do
As long as it's
$300 a year,
Yeah,
right?
well, it's reported. It's okay.
No, but one other way to,
Yeah.
like I said, when my phone goes off, I enjoy it. This is enjoyable for me. I mean, this is, call me crazy, but I love this kind of stuff. So when I get that email that says no reply online submittal form, let's go. What do we got here? It's just another new challenge. So even if you have something positive, to say about anything we're doing, but reach out.
Yeah, they don't just like to hear complaining. I mean, this is the one thing. Too,
I don't think they ever like to hear complaining.
No, but I mean, it's
Complaining is room for improvement.
yeah, it's easy to be negative out there, folks, and I just stress this when somebody does something right. It's like being a parent. Pat them on the back when they do good, and kick them in the you-know-what when they
Well,
don't.
heck, even you and I had sent positive emails to the former mayor of Crystal, who barely ever did anything right.
I did on more than one occasion, by the way. And I think there was some shock value in that as well. But I'll tell you, look, remember when I emailed Mike Opat, thanking him for voting against the wheelage tax? Let me tell you, that was not, actually Jeff Johnson encouraged me to, but
Yeah.
I was like, well, hey, he did. He was my rep at the time.
Did
and-
the right thing.
Yeah, so I told him think it was like one of the only times you responded to me. So anyhow, I mean, yes, Garrett, thank you for coming
Yes.
in and keep us updated on what's going on in Elk River. And like we said, there's a million ways to follow Garrett. Get out there and do that. And even if you don't live in Elk River, it doesn't matter. How many times we got to say that you're going to find these issues in your city.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to find a hockey rink or a golf course or a liquor store or a
Swimming pool.
or a firehouse or whatever that's going to need this or that, or you know, whether it's a tax issue or something. Local communities are all involved in the same things.
Yeah.
It's public safety, roads, parks.
Park and rec.
Yeah, I mean, they all do the same thing, so you're going to see similar concerns across the board.
So get a hold of us if you're interested in doing that. You can do that at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That is commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, give it a like, give it a rating.
And if you like the songs by Billy the Bass, check them out on Spotify, right,
Yes,
Jay?
Spotify, yes.
Yeah, so
It's Community
Spotify.
Solutions Music from the Podcast
Okay.
playlist, yes. That is correct.
One of these days I'll figure out how to log in.
My goodness.
You gotta catch up with the times.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness. Well, there's this thing they have called an app.
Right.
And I'm figuring that out as we speak.
Yeah.
Didn't you try to sign me in once?
I might have.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. He'll have Napster figured out in about 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, even
Well,
myself.
I am having problems with my Walkman right now, so I may have to do that.
Do they put Laserdisc on portable?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
lost the little puffy thing on my headphones, and so it's...
Well, I'm going through the same thing, you know, my 12-year-old. I'll send him a text message, won't hear back. If I
Yeah.
send him a Snapchat,
Oh yeah.
he's responding before I get my message sent. You know,
I'll
I
tell you
don't
what.
even understand. I don't even understand Snapchat, but that's the only way I can communicate.
I sit down in front of my nephews and they're texting each other. Anyhow, I'm so lucky that I grew up when I grew up.
Yeah.
Because my parents would kick me out of the house in the summer day and say, my mom would say, look, you know what time, you got a watch, you know what time your father gets home from work, that's when we're having supper, and I don't want to see you in this house until then. You know, unless I hadn't mowed the lawn yet or something. But
Right.
I was told, you know, no, there's no electronics, there's no nothing. You go out, you get exercise, you ride your bike, I don't care where you go. You know, but I always had baseball or something at night, and it would just be like, you know, you don't, I'm just so glad I grew up in that era. I'd
Yeah.
be so tempted, you know, to like learn this stuff if I were younger and hip. I would be, you know, just tempted to sit and play on these things all the time, but I'm so over the hill that I can't do it now. But I'm glad I grew up when I did.
I do it because I have to for business, but I would never do it for personal reasons.
Oh, well, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I mean, to me, pop culture is still Madonna and Whitney Houston, okay? So there's a
Boy.
little disconnect there.
A little bit. Yeah. At least you move past Chubby Checker.
Yeah,
That's good.
right. I mean, the Dukes Hazzard are on Friday night, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Oh boy. On that note, we're
I'm not
gonna-
that bad.
No.
Really, I mean,
No, you're
close.
not.
but
We play it up a little bit.
we do tad. Some of it's true, though. And I did see The Hangover, and I've never seen 40-Year-Old Virgin. That's true.
Yeah, that's probably okay.
Oh, is it?
I don't know. Anyways, that's all we got for this week, and we're going to come back with something hopefully equally as entertaining next week. We'll see what happens. Jury's out. All right. We love you, Minnesota. Now it's your turn to get to work.